Take a pit stop for all things NASCAR with the 4 Tire Change podcast. Here is your host, Dawson Iserlo.
It's a 4 Tire Change, ESPN Southwest Louisiana. Dawson Iserlo back with you as always, joined for the second consecutive week by my guy Matt Miguez, and that is because we had a chance to experience Texas Motor Speedway up close and personal. Attended the race as media members this weekend. Tremendous opportunity. Appreciate the folks at Texas for making it happen. An interesting race. Certainly no shortage of things that took place. A lot of wrecks. Looked more like a super speedway race with the carnage by the end of it than a classic mile and a half. But in the end, Joey Logano gets a clutch victory and changes the playoff outlook. Matt, first off, your thoughts on experiencing this, because I know this was a first time for you.
Yeah, just an incredible experience. You know, I've said since we left that every human, whether you're a NASCAR fan or not, should experience it. Because, again, these man-made machines going 200 miles an hour down around an oval is just incredible. So again, whether you're a NASCAR fan or not, you are a NASCAR fan if you're watching this, but you should definitely go check out a race.
And so this race, look, we went into it with some interesting storylines. We talked about, there haven't been a ton of classic mile and a halves this season yet. We're going to get into that stretch really right now as Kansas is next week and everything like that. But we kind of wanted to see who has the speed. Now, Texas, early on, the thing was nobody could pass. And, I thought maybe this was going to turn into a uneventful, boring, stretched out single-file race. Fortunately for us, that didn't end up happening. Some things changed as the race went on. But Carson Hocevar qualifies on the pole and runs out front for the first 20-plus laps. He looks like he's got the car to beat. Then all of a sudden it's Kyle Larson. And then I took notice of the 45, and I told you as we were standing up there, we had a great vantage point. We were able to get up on top Victory Lane there with the Speedy Cash Victory Lane Center and kind of watch this thing bounce back and forth between the media center to get some camera angles and stuff. And I said, that 45 car's coming. He started to pick his way through the field. It felt like he had the most speed. The thing is, we never in this race, outside of maybe that one stretch towards the end of stage one, we never got an uninterrupted, green flag pit stop cycle, something where we could really see who had the fastest car. Every time somebody like Reddick was making a charge through the field, there's another accident that disrupted things.
Correct.
And a lot of times the leaders were the ones spinning.
Correct. Which was so weird. I think the common denominator was that they really tried to ride that high side, into turns 3 and 4, that third groove, right? And obviously the track's a little worn up there as you get higher up, and that caused a couple of guys to lose control. Most notably, probably the big one was Josh Berry, because man, that stretch before he wrecked was he had an incredible race car on Sunday. But no, you talk about Tyler Reddick. It seemed like every opportunity he had to make a charge up to the front, he did, until he was stopped by a caution, like you said. But he had a really fast race car as well. Kyle Larson, like you mentioned, had a really fast race car. I thought William Byron had a chance for a little while. He was my pick to win the race. I thought he had a chance in spurts. And Joey Logano just ended up in the right place at the right time down the back stretch and was able to make that last move past Michael McDowell to get the win.
Yeah, and it's a tough break, too, for McDowell, who is another one of those drivers who for 20, 25 minutes looks like he's going to be the one who pulls this off. And that was, you talk about a storyline with Spire, who's bringing fast cars. I mean, look, they qualified out on the pole. So, and then in addition to that, you had McDowell's car that looked fast as well. Joey Logano just does this stuff, man. He qualifies in the back. We really didn't talk about him all day long. We're out there. We're kind of, as we said, we're having our conversations. We're pointing out the Reddick car, pointing out, look at Kyle Larson starting to have the speed. Talk about maybe a guy like Ryan Blaney. But lo and behold, 7 accidents later, right, a bunch of wrecks that clear out some contenders. Yeah. And here comes the 22 car with the AAA paint scheme. And he's right there in the mix. And then McDowell has the lead, and McDowell goes for the block. And Logano's just as good as there is. They called Kevin Harvick the closer for a reason. And, I think maybe the modern-day closer is Joey Logano.
Yeah.
So he's got a chance. He makes it happen. And he did it beautifully. Of course, McDowell ends up spinning, so Logano's got to re-rack this thing and win it off a restart again. And he does it again. No top fives coming into the race, but now he's got his win. He's in the playoffs, and the 22 team can relax. It's a reason he's a multi-time champion. Love him or hate him, he knows how to win these types of deals.
Yeah, he's just a fantastic race car driver, and he's got a great crew behind him, right? You talked about how in a mile-and-a-half race like Texas, the pit crew plays a huge, maybe a bigger part than they do in a typical race, right? Especially when you have those cycles of green flag stops where you're trying to win that race off of pit road. And, Logano, again, just ended up in a fortuitous situation with some of the cautions. I think there ended up being 12 on Sunday. And he made the most of his opportunity right there at the end. You talked about the cautions taking out some contenders. How about Denny Hamlin blowing an engine
early,
70 laps into the race? And just kind of out of the blue, right? He had the code word issue with the pit thing and made his way to the back of the field because of that. And about 20 laps later, his engine blew. So definitely an unfortunate day for the 11 team.
Yeah, and it was not, like we said, there was just a lot of drivers who probably had their day. Kyle Busch had this run where he's at the front all of a sudden, and then he spins, and things change for him. So interesting to say the least. Great time, though. We appreciate the opportunity to be out there, and we look forward to doing it, hopefully again, pretty soon here at one of these upcoming races. This week they go to Kansas, so, what did you learn? What can you find out about the speed? I think I've got some ideas. I picked Reddick last week. You picked Byron. I think both of us felt good at different points of the race about our picks, although they didn't work out. For me, when it comes to Kansas, I'm going to try and look at a team that's been having that speed. I'm going to try and sit there and say, okay, who's got this that's repeatable? I've been a little discouraged with the JGR cars right now. They just don't seem to have it week in and week out. And we saw, a run. Ty Gibbs was up near the front for a while, but then faded. So for me, it's got to come down to either, one of those Hendrick cars or maybe one of those Penske cars that have really started to show it. Also, by the way, before we fully move on, Ross Chastain, great job getting up to that P2 spot to finish out a strong day for the Trackhouse Racing team. So for me, I'm not going to get cute with it, right? I'm going to go with one of those Hendrick cars. Give me Kyle Larson getting back into the winner's circle. I think they had a couple little breaks that didn't go their way. Otherwise, they could have won that race at Texas. I think Larson gets it done at Kansas.
I'm going to go Ryan Blaney. A guy who,
chances to win.
Showed some speed at Texas. He's had a lot of chances to win this year. I talked about William Byron, getting in that slump. And, I thought he might break through at Texas. I'm going to say the same message with Ryan Blaney. He's had so many chances to win. I think this is the one where he finally breaks through. If he can consistently show that speed that he's had throughout the year, I think he finds his way to victory lane.
Interesting point of the year, right? We're up to 7 race winners for the season. Of course, we've had some multi-time winners. Chris Bell's already got 3. We know Kyle Larson has multiple wins as well. An opportunity, though, to start to see what is that playoff bubble going to look like. You've got drivers right now like Bubba Wallace who are very comfortably above the cut line. But does that cut line start to shrink? Do we start to get some surprise winners as the summer opens up? We know we're going to head back in a little bit. We're going to go to Mexico City in a month and go to a road course there where guys like Shane Van Gisbergen are going to be a factor. Yep. Where does that bubble sit? We're going to find out, I think, in the next month.
Chase Elliott's kind of in that same position, right? Hasn't found victory lane yet. It is comfortably above the cut line for now because of points. But like you said, if we start to get more first-time winners, that opportunity window is going to get smaller. So definitely the idea is to try to find victory lane here as we get into the stretch of the middle portion of the NASCAR schedule.
Got 28 consecutive race weekends with a race, so it is no letting up. The All-Star race, though, in just a couple weeks, that'll kind of be the only real chance to reset and take a breath if you're one of these race teams right now as far as racing for points and wins each week. That'll do it for us here on 4 Tire Change. Appreciate Matt Miguez for joining us once again, and appreciate the folks at Texas Motor Speedway who had us out there as media members. Hope to do that again soon, but keep commenting, and subscribing. We will be back with the Kansas recap next week. This has been 4 Tire Change.